Next up is Howard French from Columbia University.
Thank you very much. I hate speaking at podiums because of my height. Forces me to lean forward a little bit awkwardly, but I'll try my best. I was on my way back from the Great Lakes region when the planning conversations were held for this panel. I knew about the panel months ago, but there was a little kind of group consultation about who will say what and how do we all fit together, and I missed out on that. Fortunately, Steve and Judd have left me a lot of things to sort of draw out a bit further, and so that's what I will try to do. Steve did a very nice job subverting the very widely held view that Africa is essentially, in economic terms, a commodity story. There are tenacious storylines of many different kinds in the press. I come from the press, obviously, about Africa. One of them is the persistence of violence. Another one is the failure of economic growth to take hold. Another one is ethnic division, et cetera. There are probably 6 or 7 perennial storylines that the press is, it seems, eternally hung up on about Africa, to the point of not really being able to see the extent of granular change on the ground and the diversity, as Steve mentioned earlier in his remarks, from place to place. And one of these tenacious storylines is commodity dependency on commodities. We've heard a lot today about demography. Ambassador Thomas Greenfield talked about how Africa's population will double between now and the middle of the century. Projections further out toward the end of the century talk almost unbelievably of African population that could reach between 3 and 5 billion people. At the next layer down, though, beneath these huge aggregate numbers, I think the most interesting thing that's taking place demographically speaking is urbanization. And I think urbanization has been a huge part of the untold story about economic growth in Africa. That with urbanization, you see an intensification and an acceleration of economic exchange. You see the growth of all sorts of services, many of which don't register in terms of economic statistics, and underpin an African economic growth story that isn't easily discernible if you're looking for all of the old traditional categories that fall into export numbers or banking receipts and things like that. And so I think African urbanization is something that is not paid enough attention to. It's something that the United States, I think, in particular, can play a bigger role in helping African countries to think through in effective ways to maximize the economic potential that they get from urbanization.